Good morning, and apologies for the gap in content on the channel. As many of you will be aware, I've had a bit of a break from photography, a rather enforced break from photography over the last few months, and it's been way too long since I was able to get out and make a video. I have actually recorded a couple of videos over the summer which I've just not had time to put together. In fact, this mountain behind me, Leergach, I climbed that mountain a couple of months ago with my friend Ellis, who you might remember. I did a video from Kintail a little while ago. Ellis came up again and we climbed Leergach, and it was such a fantastic climb. So I am going to put that video out eventually, but it is way overdue. I've just had so many pressures on over the summer that I decided that I was going to focus on getting the house ready and all this other work which I've been doing, and unfortunately I've not had time really to do the YouTube video, so apologies for that. But this morning I've come down here to what is certainly one of my favourite locations. It's kind of a go-to location for me if I've had a little bit of a break. It's a good place to sort of come and get back into photography again. And this is just at the head of Loch Clare. So Loch Clare itself is actually behind where the camera is, and this is a little loch which is up towards the end of Loch Clare. And you may remember videos I've done here in the past where I've photographed the grasses poking out through the water, and they create this wonderful foreground. Well, the last few days we've had a huge amount of rain here, and the water levels are way too high for those sorts of photographs. Those grasses are largely submerged. There's a few little islets with grasses sort of poking out the top, but to be honest, they're not particularly photogenic. But I'm going to take a little walk around and see if there is anything to photograph. We had a little bit of colour in the sky just as I first turned up, but it was over in the opposite direction and it only lasted a few seconds. It's largely an overcast day this morning, but you never know. With these kind of conditions, sometimes you just get a little bit of cloud around the mountains. Really makes them work in photographs. So I've got the Telephoto lens as well. So I'm just going to have a fun morning of just getting back into photography, and we'll see how we get on. So always when I first turn up at a location, I think what I like to do is just keep the camera off the tripod and walk around with the camera just loose and see if I can frame up some shots. Sometimes I think people are too quick to get the tripod out and plonk it down. When you do that, you're sort of committing yourself in some ways subconsciously to a certain spot. So often I think it's best just to start just with the camera loose, spend a little bit of time just working out what's going to work and what's not. And in this location, in the past, as I say, I've always gone for having images which have a strong foreground, and it's normally the grasses which will be poking out of this loch. This morning those grasses are submerged. So actually I think what will work better is just sort of forgetting that idea of having to have a strong foreground and just focusing on the mountain with these trees on the left hand side, and that's what I think I'm going to go for. So we're just starting to get a little bit of colour in the clouds. It's very overcast, but there is a bit of a gap behind me. So what I'm hoping is if I wait around long enough, maybe the sun will find a little bit of a gap and just shed some light on here, because at the moment there's no light on the scene whatsoever. And that's kind of okay, because the sun's being diffused through the cloud, it's just giving this kind of soft light across the scene. But what we could really do with is just a little bit more light, to be honest. But what I've got is I've got the 6-stop filter on, which has given me about a 45-second exposure. And as I said, I've just kind of gone for a composition where I'm not worrying too much about foreground, and I'm just getting these trees on the left-hand side and the mountain on the right-hand side. And I'm firing off with a remote shutter, just the odd sort of 45-second exposure. 45 minutes would be a bit too much. And there's the odd bit of rain which comes down, so I'm sort of trying to avoid getting rain on the front of the camera. but it also adds a little bit more atmosphere. If we get a bit of a shower coming down, that would really help the scene. So the brollies had to go up, which is actually, I think, a good thing, because we've had a few rain showers come through. And when it's like this, you've just got the odd shower, that can work really well in images. And I've moved up from the location down on the edge of the loch, and I've come up to this vantage point here, looking over the main part of Loch Clare. And what I'm hoping is that there's a few sort of breaks in the cloud up there. I don't know if they're going to come out on camera, but as the sun comes up, I'm hoping perhaps maybe I'll get lucky. And if the sun finds a little gap in the cloud, we should get some really nice light on this loch. In an ideal world, actually, I'd want a rain shower to coincide with that, because that would just look stunning. But obviously, I'd have to be really lucky for that to work out. But actually, what I've got set up is this composition where I've got these trees out which are coming down to the shoreline in the centre of the loch, and I'm just really kind of focused on those trees. I've got a 6-stop filter on, which is giving me about a 10-second exposure, so that's just smoothing out the water a little bit. And I think that if the light works out, if I'm lucky, then this could work really well. So we're getting some really, really nice light now. If I just move my umbrella, you can see that we're getting a really nice bit of golden light from those trees over in the loch. It's absolutely beautiful. And actually, one of the useful things about the umbrella, even though it's stopped raining, is you can use it kind of as a lens hood and just stop any light glare or lens flare on the lens. So I've been using it for that. And yeah, I've actually switched over to the 10-stop filter because it's so bright now, but actually to get a decent long exposure, I'm having to use the 10-stop. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing how these images turn out. So there's a gorgeous little bit of light hitting the mountain at the moment. It's looking absolutely stunning. So I've just whipped the camera around in the other direction. I'm just firing off a few shots of this mountain here. And yeah, it's looking beautiful actually. It really is. And it's one of the joys actually of a lens like this. So this is the 24-105, which I know doesn't necessarily have the same quality as something like the 24-70. But without having to change lenses, I've got quite a wide focal range there, so I can just sort of move the camera around and react quickly to light. And sometimes that's, I think, more important, that being able to react quickly. And the light's now going back onto those trees over there now as well, so yeah, absolutely beautiful. This is a lovely little spot. So glad I came down here, because normally I just go down to that position down by the edge of a loch, and this is the first time I've come up here onto this little spot here. I've eyed it in the past, and I thought in the right conditions with some nice light, actually this would be a really good vantage point, and it's not disappointed. So I'm going to call it a morning down here, and actually I'm really pleased with some of the images I've come away with. I wasn't sure what to expect when I headed out this morning. The conditions weren't looking perfect, but I thought there might be a chance of the odd little bit of light, and actually I think I've come away with some really nice images. So yeah, really happy with this morning, and it's been so good to get back out with the camera again. Again, apologies for the lack of content over the summer. Hannah and I have just been really trying to get our heads down with the house renovation. We've had other work on as well, so we've just not had time to put these videos together, so sorry about that. But also, you know, I do have a couple of videos to come which I recorded ages ago, which are well overdue. So I've got the video of Ellis Wood and I climbing Leagach. I promise I'll finally get that finished off soon, and I'll put it out in the next few weeks. But yeah, thanks so much for watching. The other thing which I wanted to mention was, for those of you who remember the videos I made earlier this year back in Glencoe with the pubcast crew, when we were there we recorded an episode of the pubcast, and I have actually now joined the pubcast group as a regular panel member on the pubcast. So Series 3 started a few weeks ago. We've had a few episodes out already, but we'll be putting those out roughly every week. So do go and check out those pubcasts. They're also available to download as podcasts if you prefer just listening as a podcast. Do go and check those out if you haven't done so already. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.